Well, I think that's really true because, you know, to remember, like we've given our minds to be able to think, and at times when we're quiet, like, and I remember like a lot of our people, like after supper or something, they would sit down by the fire and, you know, especially if they had a guest, and to be able to talk about stories and you know, things that they used to do. And I think that's like, for myself too, like I think about those things because I'm reflecting on ceremonies, and, you know, and I think, hey, we don't do this anymore. Why is that? Because that was really important, and it was, you know, using our whole community, you know, to be support. And, you know, so I bring that up with people, and, you know, and talk about that, like we should be doing these things, and like it's not taken, you know, and say, hey, you know, that's a good idea. Let's, you know, let's give that new life. Let's do that just next time. Let's plan on that. You know, so I've been, you know, saying that for a while now. Is like remembering is so cool to us because we, you know, when we sit down or we talk with our kids or, you know, have a conversation with other people, like it's those things that we remember, you know, that we bring forward, and you know, and like in research, like they, you know, they do a lot of research in lots of our communities, you know, and but I think what's different about the research that we do is you know, to do activity. Okay, so we find those, you know, wherever, like, and people have been doing recordings for a long time, you know, and but it's been in the museum, and it's not being utilized like in our community. They just sit on a shelf somewhere in a storage, you know, and we can't learn that way. And even though like these recordings can be brought forward now, but you know, it's you know, I think we depend too much on the individual, you know, for them to carry that responsibility instead of working at it as a community, as a unit, you know, and being able to bring those things forward. Like, you know, there's certain things that I look at and I think that, you know, well, this doesn't seem right that, you know, to carry our voices forward, because if we're not understanding, then how can our voice be included if we don't understand somebody doing a prayer for us? You know, so I think that, you know, and being inclusive, that, you know, we should go prior to that, or because we're a witness to it, that we have been practicing, then maybe we can include their voice and say, you know, this is coming up from the voices of the people, you know. But if we don't have that conversation, you know, to have that same understanding, this is what we're here for. You know, this is what we're here to celebrate, and you know, and to make it come alive. You know, and I find that with you know, with our spirit, like, because sometimes, you know, people talk and something will hit me, and it's like I got to focus on that, because what did that really mean, and where did that come from? Because something moved inside of me, like, and I need to understand that. So I have to go home and think about that, you know, that word that I heard, and, you know, and it leads me in so many different directions. And I think that my mom, you know, when she used to say that, is you got to brain use it. That, you know, it invigorates me to think that she had that belief in me that I could do that. You know, and so when I find myself thinking in those ways and reconnecting, like, and seeing it, like, because I see it in the little kids still, they bring that forward because they're still coming from a place of purity. You know, and they remind me, and it's like, why didn't I think of that? You know, but I think it's that full circle, you know, that, you know, we know something's missing. And I think that that's really, you know, the process for colonization was separating us was so that it would break that pattern of communication, you know, and isolate us. Like this whole experience with COVID, like brought a lot of memory back to me, you know, about what it must have felt like to, you know, live back in those days when, you know, the Indian agent was in charge of everything, and, you know, you had to sign it, you had to get a signature in order to leave the reserve or, you know, to go shopping to the store. Like, and to me, that's like totally ridiculous, but we experienced that again, like with COVID, because we had to, you know, get recognized where we were going, and you can't go here or you can't go there, and you know, and it was really limited, and it really brought a lot of stuff forward for me. But I think that there are like research methods that are built in within our own bodies, you know, to have question. And why did I do that? Like, I don't know, like sometimes when I'm speaking, I don't know what I'm talking about, because, you know, all of these things are coming from spirit. And, you know, and then after I do my presentation, and then I think, well, I should have asked about that. You know, if that was, you know, if it was permissible to do that. And then they tell me no, and then I get all upset because I've been told that I shouldn't have done that. You know, it's like, well, I already did it. You know, and the people received it well, and, you know, it helped them, it moved them to another place. So, you know, and people come back to me still and say, you know, when you said this, like it opened up a new space for me, you know, and made me think. So I think that we have those like research things within our own body to be able to ask questions. And I think that's probably the cutoff too, because when our, you know, people went to residential school, or, you know, they were taken by CAS, they couldn't be who they were. They couldn't talk about the things, they couldn't use their language, they couldn't do, you know, all of these natural things that they enjoyed being at home. You know, so I think those kinds of things were interrupted, you know, but they've come back, you know, and you know, talked about those, like we all understood that in our community, but, you know, we had no validation from the outside, because we were viewed as nothing, you know. So I think that in doing research, you know, is about having like this, you know, sitting in circle and having a conversation, and everybody gets to have input. You know, they share their own story. Oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that, you know, and we put that all together, and it makes us strong again in our foundation. You know, it rebuilds that happiness, and that, you know, that energy starts to flow, and we get revitalized. It's just like, you know, starting a fire. You know, you put your logs on there, and, you know, you light it up, and, you know, and we all have our own voice to add to that fire, and pretty soon we have a huge fire. Like, to me, that's about research. You know, it's about, you know, gathering information, but we don't see it as putting it or storing it somewhere. It should be activated and utilized, you know. Well, this is what I heard, like, I'm going to do that, you know, and become, you know, a community practice, so that we're all doing those things, that we can share and, you know, help one another, and, you know, come back to that. You know, when they talk about Ganukwasha, about the love amongst us, you know, I could see that. I could see, like, the elements giving everything to our community. Like, we're surrounded by trees, and, you know, we have birds, we have water, we have, you know, the air, and we live in a good place. You know, and all of those energies are always giving to us, but because we were colonized, we don't look at them as being beneficial to our life. So I think that, you know, once you open a door, once you turn the key and open a door, like amazing things happen. And we're led spiritually, you know, to these places and people. You know, like I've been journeying a lot with many different nations of people, and I don't know how that happened. But I'm seeing, like, you know, if we look at the dream catcher, you know, how it's tied off in certain areas, and we move on from there and we add more, you know, and we complete that circle. You know, all of those places like that we're connected to and tied up because we had a great experience there. You know, we think about those things, those journeys, and here I find that, you know, because I know this person, and they knew that person, and then they knew the other person, and it comes back like I know those people because I met them on my journey. So, you know, I think that we're spirit led to, you know, to come back to recognize the people and their belief, and, you know, they've been sent to in our direction for us to learn from one another, you know, and to look at our ceremonies and how powerful they are. Like, they're all conducted in a different way, but the whole idea of completion and honoring, you know, is in every individual ceremony that I've been at. You know, they connect, and, you know, and you just feel so complete, you know, from sharing, from participation, you know, and I can understand how people would say, well, you come out and you feel like you're this high off of the ground, you know, because you were in ceremony and you really collected all of the energy that surrounds you. And I think that's what's so important about understanding, like, and we say, you know, it's in the voices of all these people that we're connected, and that, you know, when our minds are all working together, it creates this energy that, you know, if there were clouds in the sky, that we could clear those clouds away because we're all focused on one thing. And we're all grateful that we're able to see that. And we're all grateful for the people who came to participate in this ceremony. You know, so that research is like, to me, when I go to ceremony, that's research. You know, it's happening. I'm learning new things, and, you know, and I'm sharing that with other people. So it doesn't sit on a shelf. You know, it's moving. And that's how our life ways should be, is that it's always moving, because creation's always moving. And we're supposed to be a reflection, and, you know, sharing that energy, coming back and forth, so that we are creating a balance and a harmony within our communities and our families, most importantly.